Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Digital Weather Desk. Doors open. Powered by Century Next Bank. I'm Jared Floyd. Cat snuck in there earlier. He's asleep on the, over there. Sleeping on the job. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon as we prepare for another evening of sky watching. Although I'm not overly encouraged about our chances tonight for folks that are awaiting the potential to see the Northern Lights. I really, truly think that last night was an overperforming event, and there's a decent chance that tonight could be an underperforming event. But again, the prospects of space weather forecasting are far from precise. That is a very kind way of saying, while we kind of know what's going on, it's not easy to forecast. So we'll keep an eye on it as we go through the night. Cloud cover shouldn't be an issue through the early part of the evening. What cloud cover we are seeing on the infrared satellites advancing off to the south, and as I mentioned earlier in my forecast post, I think there was going to be an opportunity for us to clear out a little bit before the clouds return by around sunrise tomorrow. And by then, we'll probably have surpassed any kind of prime viewing opportunities anyway. Every shingle radar product made possible by Brown's Roofing. Schedule your free roof inspection at brownsroofingla.com. Their cold weather clothing drive is ongoing. You can schedule a pickup on their Facebook page or go by their Facebook page for a list of drop-off locations. Obviously, nothing speaking in terms of radar activity across our area. And as we look at temperatures going toward the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour and heading toward the 5 o'clock hour, most of us are in the low to mid-70s. Shreveport, 81 degrees and still holding on to the upper 60s, at least across portions of the Mississippi Valley. Winds have been breezy out of the south and southwest today. They are starting to die down somewhat, but those southerly winds could transport a little low-level moisture back in across the area, and that would be responsible for any cloud cover we see tonight. So here's a look at the potential Northern Lights viewing specifics. And again, a viewing is possible, but it is far from guaranteed. And as I mentioned, yesterday was kind of an overperformer. Today, it's too early to tell. The early signals in terms of some of the parameters that we look at are not overly encouraging that we will see the same kind of impacts that we saw last night, but it's still a possibility. I think tonight it's probably most likely that you're going to see this in the higher latitudes, the northernmost areas in our coverage area, and again, use the long exposure setting on your camera, a night setting, something like that. And again, avoid light pollution if you can. Look to the northern horizon. That's going to be your best shot. I really want to caution folks that are wanting to kind of drive out into the country and get a good spot. The cloud cover will be a possibility, but there's also a good chance that you sit there for several hours and don't see anything. Just warning you that, again, Northern Lights viewing in this area is highly unpredictable. Last night we really didn't have a really good hankering on what was going to happen in our area until it was essentially already unfolding. We knew about, I would say, 2 or 3 hours ahead of time, but there wasn't a much advance notice. Jeremy asks, what is the Mesonet and why are the numbers from Monroe Airport and ULM Station not official numbers? The Monroe Airport are official numbers. Those are official. They're logged by the National Weather Service in Shreveport. So your El Dorado Airport, Monroe Regional, Monticello, Tallulah-Vicksburg, which is technically in Mound. Those are more of our official areas. The ULM, I know that those numbers are taken into account. I don't, and again, record keeping in terms of the Mesonet really just started in the last year. It's only been up and running for about the past 6 to 8 months, and they continue to add more and more locations. And those are official numbers. But in terms of record keeping, when I say official numbers, it's really kind of comparing it to averages and record keeping and things like that. We just don't have those numbers established yet because, again, they've only been up and running for about a year. They are official numbers. They're used by the Weather Service, and they're used for modeling and things like that, and they're used for all kinds of different stuff. But there's not that much of a data backlog to really feed off of. Well, this is the average temperature at the ULM Mesonet site because, again, we've only had about a year of record keeping. We'll get there, though. That's a good question. But yeah, Your airport ASOS stations, those are the ones that are typically leaned on for record keeping, and those have been the longest established ones too. We went back the other day and we were talking about something, I don't know. And I did some, I think it was first and last freeze data, and like Camden and some of those areas, they only have like 20 years worth of data, while record keeping goes back to the 1800s for some, goes back to the 1930s and 19 teens for others. So again, you kind of get the general idea. That was a long way of explaining that, but if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you the long answer to it, because we don't understand the process of long story short. All right, Futurecast made possible by Bayou Power Sports, I-20 Frontage Road in Monroe, shows those clouds as a possibility tonight. Again, I'm not overly confident in them returning this early. In fact, Futurecast advertises that the cloud cover that we've already seen thin out would just kind of linger, and that's not necessarily the case. We've already cleared out a little bit. I would expect to see this by tomorrow morning, a general increase in the clouds as low-level moisture continues to increase on the back of these southerly winds, which could continue to stay breezy at times through the day tomorrow. And then we'll eventually see the sunshine kind of win in through the afternoon. Check out the water vapor imagery. I showed you this morning. Again, not a whole lot happening right now. We're still kind of embedded in a northwesterly pattern aloft. Big ridge of high pressure that's been kind of sandwiched and squished out to the desert southwest and out over northern sections of Mexico. As we put things into motion over the next several days, that ridge moves back overhead for the weekend. So if you have outdoor plans this weekend, it looks like a lot of sinking, compressing, warming air as the upper level pattern is kind of going in this direction and kind of provides this hump in the jet stream. A lot of sinking, compressing, warming air, which doesn't really foster a lot in the way of rain chances. That's in the short term. As we go deeper into the weekend, some disturbances start to kind of impact that ridge of high pressure, and we just get into a more active pattern. Case in point, we're looking at a disturbance that's kind of centered in this area right here. We don't really know what that's going to bring to our area late Monday, Tuesday. It's a little too early to kind of get into the semantics and the fine-tuned details of a shortwave, a small disturbance like that in our upper-level pattern, and how that could impact the forecast so far down the road. Then the ridge kind of builds back in, but the difference at this point is now you start seeing this deeper upper trough of low pressure out to the west and these deeper southwesterly winds aloft. So now we start getting subtropical moisture back into the fray. I'm just using different colors just because I can. But as we get these deeper southwesterly winds, we start getting subtropical moisture back in. So we're not just relying on Gulf moisture streaming in ahead of a storm system. You're talking stacking deep layers of moisture in the atmosphere by the end parts of next week. Does that really mean anything in the short term? Not necessarily. It's a pattern change. But we've been screaming pattern change for the last 2 weeks now, and nothing's really changed. So it's all well and good that you see these pattern changes out in the forecast, but until they happen, they got to happen. So we can sit here and scream and preach about it all day long, but something has to give. And it looks like it will as we go into the second half of the month of November, and also some signals that we could be headed way too early to speculate on specifics. But we could be headed toward a sloppy Thanksgiving. It could be rainy. It could be stormy. We could be looking at a pretty decent shot of cool air during that stretch. But that's, again, a long way from now. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But it is something that we'll look at more over the coming days and weeks. Forecast rainfall over the next 7 days. I'm showing you this just to give you a little bit of encouragement that rain will eventually return to the forecast. It's just not going to be anytime soon. Clouds a possibility tonight. Again, if you're heading out to potentially see the northern lights, take some good pictures. Send them to us. You can upload them on the Digital Weather Desk app, available for Apple and Android users. And it will be a pretty nice night for viewing. So if you get stuck out there and you don't see anything, at least it's not 25 degrees outside. That's a plus. I hit the space bar too hard and I went through the tomorrow. Here's tomorrow. Daytime highs be in the upper end of the 70s. I wouldn't be surprised to hit the 80-degree mark. Winds will be out of the southwest, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Could see some higher gusts through the day. 7-day forecast made possible by 3B Hardware. It is a little tweaked from where we were earlier today. I've made some small adjustments to the forecast, but as we set up for the weekend, it's going to be warm. Daytime highs near 80, morning lows upper 50s to near 60. No real rain chances. Cloud cover starts to pick up a little bit on Sunday. Rain chances could trickle back in as early as Monday, but they're more likely for the middle parts and end parts of next week. I will also say that there's a lot of, depending on where you go on social media for information, there is a lot of alarm bells sounding about the Weather Prediction Center talking about an area of moderate to heavy rainfall setting up across our area, middle to end parts of next week. Again, I know that trend is there. I've seen the graphics, all that stuff, but until we really see something concrete, this is all just fodder for just conversation. So I don't really want to scream, big change is coming, and then everybody jump on that bandwagon, and then it be 3, 4, 5 days later. So when we know, I'll let you know. But aside from that, it's more of the same in the short term. All right, Fish and Game forecast comes out at 8 p.m. tonight. Your Too Long Didn't Read at 9:30 again tomorrow morning. I'll join you first thing tomorrow morning with a look at the live stream, with a live look at the weather on a live stream. And then also keep an eye out for the Northern Lights tonight. I'll keep an eye on things and in terms of the space weather forecasts. Again, our planetary K index, just in case you were wondering, yesterday was kind of out of this world, is at 8.67 during the kind of peak of everything last night. So obviously, I would think that we would probably need a planetary K index number 7 or higher for it to be visible in our area. And right now we're at a 6. Should trend a smidge up a little bit as we go through the next few hours as we kind of see how that latest coronal mass ejection impacted our atmosphere, or how it interacts with our atmosphere. So I'll keep an eye on those numbers. If it looks like we're creeping up to a point where the Northern Lights will be widely visible, I'll put something up there so everybody can post their pictures, because I like to see them, and we'll share them with everybody else as well. Forecast is always available at digitalweatherdesk.com and on the Digital Weather Desk app, available for Apple and Android users. I'll see you first thing tomorrow morning. Enjoy the rest of your night. Hope you get to see some fun stuff. Can't guarantee it, though. Fingers crossed. Thanks so much for stopping by the Digital Weather Desk, powered by Century Next Bank.